Thanks for having us. My name is Chris Walton. I'm the CEO of CRIBE Center for Research and Innovation of the Bioeconomy. We're going to do a quick panel discussion here. It's going to be a conversation and less about presentations. I do have a couple of slides that I will pull up just for sort of discussion purposes. But I've got Maryam Arefmanesh from AFRY here. Did I get it right? Yep. Adeel Baig from Woodbridge. So we'll let them introduce themselves, a little bit who they are in a minute. But so what we want to talk about a little bit is about forest products from advanced materials. In the past day, yesterday was a lot about fuels and energy, and we want to talk about something slightly different. So we're going to look at this. Ooh, the formatting look good? Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, it looks bad on this screen. When we talk about advanced forest products, I think it's important to put a little bit of context on what we're talking about. And, you know, we like to use this graphic because, well, it's a tree, and what's important about that is that is the original carbon capture sequestration device. Every cubic meter of wood is 1 ton of CO2. So naturally, right now, the forests are sequestering carbon. And I think, you know, wherever Jamie Stevens is, who we got an earful from him yesterday about how we're mismanaging and basically releasing carbon to the atmosphere, our objective, I think, as an economy and a country should be securing carbon in long-lived wood products, which is the center of the tree, which we're all very used to and familiar with. That's your dimensional lumber, your engineered wood products. It's what we use and live in and day out. What we're interested in, as CRIBE, for example, is valorizing the rest of the tree, the rest of that carbon. So Center for Research and Innovation of the Bioeconomy, we're an independent nonprofit. Been around since 2009. We do investments and support around advancing Ontario's forest products, and our primary interest is around that other part of the tree that's not the center, which is the advanced products, the advanced cellulose materials, the hemicellulose and the lignins, which are the chemicals, the sugars, and the fiber. So we do industry support through 3 main ways. We do industry collaboration. With Next4, many of you have met Mike Barton or seen him present or participated in our forums. It's about 500 people, over 200 companies. We bring the value chain together between the forest products and the end users to talk about how to grow the value chains and get non-traditional users of wood products. We create economic development tools. We have a geospatial tool where you can map out wood supply for the province of Ontario, identify delivered wood cost overlaid with industrial infrastructure, totally free, open information. And we do investments in de-risking, TRL 5 and above. We work with companies like Woodbridge, FP Innovations, university institutes, and whatnot. We focus on commercialization. That's really where we want to be. So today we want to talk about these advanced products. How do we valorize carbon even further? So this is just a picture of, this is Edge Architects, Element 5 in St. Thomas has built this building. There's 4 of them in Kitchener-Waterloo. It's a classic CLT, mixed-use affordable housing unit. And it's made out of mass timber and traditional wood, which is what we can do. It's commercialized. I think what we're really asking the question is, how far can we take wood in the built environment? So if I look at that is a mass timber building. It's got a low carbon intensity. But in the reality of it is, if I'm going to look at carbon reduction from construction, mass timber only gets you at best 50% of a carbon reduction. You still have to deal with cement. You still have to deal with steel, copper, plastics, insulation. All of the other things in the built environment are not going away. So mass timber only gets you so far. Building with wood only gets you so far. So what's the rest of the carbon footprint? How far can we take it? This is what we've been doing for the past 5-8 years. Every one of these products I've listed there, I'm not going to get into them because that'll just take way too long. Every one of these products and platforms are something that we've done in Ontario through CRIBE with our industrial partners. This is not R&D. This is commercial demonstration or full commercialization. This is our little nonprofit here in Ontario have successfully demonstrated how far we can take wood in the built environment. I'm going to leave that up there just for sort of context and inspiration, because I think we need to really be looking at where we are in society in our built environment and how far can we take wood. Because In reality, every molecule, we should be able to displace every molecule of fossil with trees, theoretically. We don't have enough, but that's okay. But where are the best uses for it? And that's going to be a bit of our conversation up here today. So I am going to pass it over to Maryam to introduce herself and talk a little bit about what she's seeing globally.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Maryam Arefmanesh. I'm a senior consultant with AFRY Management Consulting in North America. A little bit of background about AFRY. We are a global engineering, design, and advisory company, headquartered in Sweden, originally a Sweden-Finnish company. We are active in areas of bioindustry, energy, infrastructure, and sustainability, with offices in more than 40 countries. I'm coming from management consulting in North America, where we focus on bioindustry, mainly renewable material, biochemical, biofuel, decarbonization, waste to energy, and sustainability. Also pulp and paper and packaging. What we are going to discuss today, as Chris just mentioned, is looking into where the market is going. Based on the nature of our company, we have a lot of clients from European side, from Europe, and also North America. What we see mostly in European market and the European demand, a lot of interest in advanced fuel, advanced biofuel, renewable biofuel, and a lot of interest in fuel, mainly driven from very aggressive reduction targets, penalties, all these very aggressive penalties that the European Green Deal and EU is looking into. We don't see that in North America. We see a lot of interest in bioproducts, and there is a saying that we are 10 years behind Europe in North America in terms of innovation and development, and that's what we see looking into the projects coming into us or looking into advisory. They are looking into things that Europe has looked into before in terms of innovation and development, and it's mainly driven by market, the consumer interest and market interest, and not specifically focused mainly on the penalties, the regulation. And we saw that yesterday in most of the presentations about SAF and renewable diesel, that there is not much of a stick here in North America. We have the carrot, IRA in the US, but we are missing the stick that the Europe has, and what is really driving the Europe demand, as I mentioned, are the penalties and the mandates. And what we need here, if we want to go back to the biofuel discussion that we had yesterday, is the stick. And I use the stick and carrot expression. We discussed it yesterday. Probably this is a friendly environment that we can use it. Yeah, I think that's a difference now between Europe and North America based on the projects that we are working on. But I can now maybe pass it to Adeel.
Yeah, Adeel, maybe talk a little bit about Woodbridge, who you are, and the space you're in, and you know, full transparency, we are a longtime supporter of Woodbridge. We've been supporting Woodbridge in their path towards decarbonization and the bioeconomy for probably since day one. So they're a strong partner of ours, so we know lots about them. So anyways, this is Adeel. Tell a bit about yourself and Woodbridge and why you do what you do.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Adeel Baig. I am Director of R&D for Woodbridge Corporation. First of all, thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you for Jeff for inviting us for this panel, and Chris as well, and Maryam to engage in this conversation, which is extremely important to the environment, obviously, to the citizens of Earth, and certainly to Woodbridge itself. Woodbridge is a privately held company. We're celebrating 45 years of creation. It's a Canadian-based company. We're based out of Mississauga, Ontario. 45 years ago, Mr. Beamish bought one plant from Monsanto in Vaughan, Woodbridge, Ontario. And fast forward now till 2023, we've got 50-plus plants, 7,500 employees, 400-plus engineers and scientists working around the globe. We're in 10 countries. So it's a tremendous success story built on hard work of people, ingenuity, innovation that's carried us forward. Our focus really is to make sure that we're stewards of the environment and providing jobs, sustainable jobs for our employees. The way that we've done that is through year-over-year reduction in carbon footprint for our company. Our goal is to be carbon neutral by 2040. We're extremely proud to say that for 3 years in a row, we've received the silver medal from EcoVadis. This year was the third year in a row that we received it. I joked with our senior executives, seems like we're stalled. We got to push a little bit further to get to the next level. But all jokes aside, I mean, our goal really has been to focus on sustainability for the long term. We've got products actually in production now using sustainably sourced materials, non-petroleum-based products as well. One of the success stories that I'll share a little bit with you today is Trim Visible Bio, which is really leading the way in the automotive seating front. I apologize, I didn't mention this before. Woodbridge is a major player in polyurethane foam interiors for automotive applications. We're also in medical applications. We're also in technical foam filtration, military applications. So a wide variety of polyurethane uses. Trim Visible Bio was born out of the need from our customers asking for a lower CO2 footprint product. So Trim Visible Bio is 10% biogenic carbon, achieves 15% reduction in GWP in the product itself, and while still maintaining all physical properties. The focus again is to provide a product to the market that actually makes a measurable difference in CO2 emitted in the production of those products. This is not greenwashing. This is actual real biogenic carbon that sequesters carbon dioxide within our seating. And again, Chris mentioned this, it would not have been possible without the de-risking partnership that CRIBE provided. Certainly, we focus on pushing the limits of innovation and development and how do we use non-petroleum-based products in our system. But again, there's always a risk of scaling up a technology that hasn't been proved out. That's where partners like CRIBE come in and help us de-risk that. So thank you very much for your partnership, and thanks for having us over here.
You're welcome. So just context again, I asked you earlier. This is scaled. You are in production. So how many car seats have Ontario wood in them, do you think, in North America?
We're on the order of 1 million seats that have biogenic carbon in there already.
Yeah. And so one of the key success factors, I think, as well, when we talk about collaboration and value chain, was the other side of this is that you are integrated with your supplier, right? So you do have vertical integration. So your product was developed with the forest products company that is processing the wood to make a product to help you do it. So that's another side of this that's important. If you're going to do any work with the forest sector, work on forest-based bioproducts, partnership with the primary industry is critical to ensure that you get the right quality, supply, and it's also just, it's a good practice as well. Okay, so just, it was interesting because we were at the back of the room at our table and they already had the panel discussion going for the past half hour. So I'm trying to bring them in and have the same conversation they had over coffee back there. But just sort of looking at, hurdles, we always know the hurdles. There's cost, there's supply, uncertainty, market acceptance. This is all the things that we all fight to get into the marketplace. The other one, we all know that. Yesterday was a fair bit of conversation about attributes and who pays for the carbon, who pays for the benefit. So Adeel, do you want to just quickly, I know you can probably take a whole day talking about this, you want to just give the perspective of the auto sector? That's who your major client is, and what are they asking for, and who's willing to pay for this? Because I think that's important, similar to fuel conversation.
Right. So it's at times frustrating because different regions, as Maryam has already kind of alluded to, different regions treat sustainability differently. And one of the beefs that I personally have is not everyone is speaking the same language. Some people are talking about, hey, I just want something renewable. Some people are saying, I want a specific GWP reduction and a plan that shows that. So that's fairly advanced, it's fairly direct, and it's measurable. As an engineer, I like having tangible targets. When people just tell me, just give me anything, I want to put a green sticker on it, that to me tells me that the motivations are different, right? So if you want to make a real impact, you've got to actually produce and use products that are actually using less petroleum-based products in consumer use. So there are companies, there's OEMs from the automotive sector that are very focused on that. And Europe, as Maryam said, is leading that. Domestic OEMs, the Japanese OEMs, even the electric car companies like Tesla and Rivian, some of those are trying to catch up, but they're not there yet. So the language has to be the same. Everyone has to talk about one thing. What is the currency? Is the currency CO2? Is the currency % renewable content? What is it? And once everyone is talking the same language, then we start developing products that meet those specific KPIs. Because without the same language, we're kind of trying to muddle through, waiting for the market to ask, waiting for regulators to push some regulation through, while the suppliers in the middle, trying to do the best they can, are doing independent work like Woodbridge is with the likes of CRIBE to push the sustainability agenda forward, the human agenda forward.
Do you have anything to add, Maryam?
Yes, I totally agree with that, speaking the same language. The consumer, of course, as we just discussed, they are looking for renewable material, lower carbon footprint, but what does it really mean? We don't have any measures for that, at least we don't have in North America. We are a little bit better on that in Canada than US, we can say. But what is really happening, and I'm going back to Europe again, with this European Green Deal, and if you look into the backbone of that, it starts from sustainable finance directive regulation. With European regulators, they know if they want to get into the target that they have, they need private investors. And how they can get those private investors to invest in their projects into transparency. What they're investing in, is that really sustainable? So that happened, I think it was 2021, through sustainable finance disclosure regulation. And then after that, EU taxonomy. So how can investors be sure that they're investing in companies that are pursuing green deals, green transition? And that is what's happening in EU taxonomy. And it's very detailed if you look at that. They have a roadmap for the companies how to get there. So that's speaking the same language. And then after that, they're pushing it a bit further. They're pushing the companies to show their transition in their sustainability reporting. And what just happened a few months ago, they're even pushing that a bit further into sustainability reporting due diligence, not even in the supply chain, but through the whole value chain. That is huge, and there are fines. There are real fines up to like 4% of the revenue of the company if they won't comply with that. So I know maybe in North America we cannot get to that level, or there's a different environment here. But we can at least look into that. We can learn. And Canada has started looking into that taxonomy, but it's just a very slow transition. And if you want to start talking the same language, even to the consumers and the end users, we have to start working into that a bit faster than what's happening in Canada, and also in US, they're not even looking into that at the moment.
So maybe if I may, we're sitting at the table, I was joking around, but one of the comments that I made was, my wife and I had this conversation about cleaning sponges. Woodbridge makes consumer products as well. And a polyurethane sponge that's used for cleaning your dishes, et cetera, if that sells, let's say, hypothetically speaking, for $2 a unit, I asked my wife, would you pay $3 or $4 or 50 cents more if I can tell you that this can be fully renewable, made from a renewable product? Or if I can tell you that you can just take that product and plant it in the ground and put seeds in it, and now it'll grow into a tree or a plant. So, resounding, her response was yes. But I don't know if that's true across the board, right? So Maryam and I were having this conversation. Who holds the decision-making power? Who holds the power? Is it the market? Is it the demand side? Are the people going to ask for that and actually want to pony up the cash for it? Because sustainability isn't going to come for free. That part I know for a fact. The question really is, who actually funds it? Is it organizations like CRIBE that de-risk companies like Woodbridge to allow us to expand into production? Is it customers that want to pay that 50 cents, $1, $2 more for their product? Is it government that actually is putting regulations in place that says you must do it and everyone's on the same playing field, so everyone is going to comply by this? So these are important conversations, but some industries are pulling ahead. Some industries are falling behind. Some countries are falling behind. And really the conversation is, how do we accelerate it? Where is funding? I can only share the success stories that we've had and the failures that we've had. We've had failures in the sustainability front as well. We had projects that Woodbridge funded with CRIBE that just weren't working, and we had to kill it because we don't want to waste taxpayer dollars to develop something that really is not going to provide value. But the bottom line is, we need to really understand who is going to fund this, because otherwise it's a non-starter.
Thanks. So let's bring it back to the forest product sector if we can, as far as investment in the forest product sector. So Maryam, can you talk a little bit about what maybe you're seeing? Where are people looking to invest on advanced materials and extraction? Because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is, there's a sort of intrusive technologies in pulp mills that can extract value from pulp mills, and then there's these standalone, bolt-on things where you can extract value from a tree. Where are the investments happening globally right now? We know what the Nordics are doing, right? So what kind of numbers are we talking about? Where are they putting their money, and what does that impact on? Is there any impact on North America? Because we know there's some stuff happening that might be impacting North American markets as well. So,
Chris, you mentioned maybe we know what's happening in Nordics, but maybe we don't know.
Tell them what's happening in the Nordics, yeah.
So, pulp and paper industry, what Chris just had there, I don't know where the slide went, but all those products that can come, yes, that one. The other one, yes. All these products that can come from a tree, it can also, the feedstock can come from pulp and paper industry. What is happening in Nordics is that pulp and paper industry is leading the way, and they're looking beyond paper. They originally were pulp and paper industries, but now they're looking into renewable diesel, SAF, biofuels. We had UPM named there yesterday in one of the presentations. UPM is a pulp and paper company. How did they get there? I'm sure it didn't happen overnight, but there were conversations, there were road mapping, discussion, and investment in modernizing the pulp and paper mills, and the forward thinking. But yes, paper might be dying, but there are a lot of other things that you can get from a tree and from wood through pulp and paper industry and get bioproducts. You can get resins, adhesive coating, and low carbon cement, decarbonizing the cement industry, steel industry. We're going to hear about that, I think, later today. So what's really happening in the Nordics, and I really encourage you to look into the UPM, Stora Enso, these big pulp and paper companies' annual reports. See how they're thinking about their pathway forward, how they're looking into giving back to the community, taking the forest product, the wood, of course, but like how they can give back to the community and what's going to happen 10 years from now, how they can use those wood material in decarbonizing the whole sector, the industry. That's where the investment is. The investment is in the pulp and paper industry in Nordics. And something very interesting is that those Finnish pulp and paper industries are putting chemical refineries in North America out of business. How did that happen? And why we're not doing that? Why we're just sitting here thinking about pulp and paper industry? It's going to go away. No, it's not. We just have to think differently about that. And that's what's happening in Nordics, and we see it in real time. And we see the investments, $1 billion or euro investments, but modernizing the pulp and paper, and then you can have SAF, you can get renewable diesel, you can get bioproducts, all the material that we have listed here from forest. Yeah,
while still making pulp.
Oh, yes, pulp is
still
important.
making sawmill and pulp, that's the key thing.
We need a tissue, yes. We need nice, soft toilet papers.
Yeah, strong toilet paper from northern pulp. Anyways, I'm not going to go into the toilet paper discussion again. And UPM has got 1.2 billion euro chemical plant they're building in Germany right now, in Luana, right? I mean, that's beechwood, 100% beechwood, making multiple products in partnership with the chemical industry. I mean, that's a greenfield, $1.2 billion greenfield biorefinery they're building. And that's a paper company. That's a pulp company. So there's plenty of examples. So I think it is important to circle back to valorizing the existing resources we have. And I think Jamie Stevens, says it very clearly, right? Our forests are burning. We're not valorizing to the fullest extent we can we're not using the forest to its greatest ability, and we're not valorizing the forest as much as we should be. The Europeans, the Nordics are where we need to be looking to it. And I mean, we could have a whole other panel discussion on how to stimulate capital investment in the pulp and paper industry. That's a whole other conversation, I think. But I know, Jeff, we got like 5 minutes. Do you want to do questions? I'm looking at it says 5 minutes down here. Does any question? Anyways, do you want one? Yeah, Adeel?
Yeah. So maybe one of the things that I'll mention, Woodbridge, again, is serious about sustainability. Our ownership, Mr. Beamish, actually vertically integrated by purchasing a forest. So our raw material supply is coming from the forest. So when we started to look into biogenic carbon and its ability or efficiency of sequestering carbon dioxide, it is one of the most efficient ways of sequestering carbon dioxide compared to anything else that we find in the industry. So just from a polyurethane perspective, the raw material, the precursors that are used to make polyurethanes foam, all of them combined have a positive GWP, or they're actually, at the end of the day, we're emitting carbon dioxide to make polyurethane foam. But while we put biogenic carbon into the foam, and even at 10% reduction, 10% use of biogenic carbon in our foams, that's a 15% reduction of GWP, and that carbon dioxide is sequestered for 100 years in a seed foam. So it's a highly efficient way of sequestering carbon dioxide. I think people are really focusing on it. The applications are well beyond automotive. It's across the board. Certainly the image that you see over here has lots of products in here that could be overcome with that could be made with urethanes as well, along with biogenic carbon in them, or products that are coming from wood, like lignin. So all these applications are being developed actively right now.
Thanks. Okay, so Jeff wants to, we're back to the Canadian bio-based strategy conversation. So yeah, I think I agree. I mean, we lack a clear, coherent strategy that lasts more than 2.5 years. I think is it's the Canadian government problem that we have that we can't go past, or provincial problem. But I do think that's one of the differences that we see, and Maryam talked about it a little bit, about that longer-term vision that the Europeans tend to have on this, which allows them to make financial decisions and investment decisions. I don't think we don't have a comprehensive bioeconomy strategy or a bio-based product strategy in this country, right? So yes, we do need to keep telling the story and lobbying to do that, and collectively, I think everybody in this room should be pushing that. So I think this is a regular theme, though, Jeff, eh? Every scaling up, talking about the lack of bioeconomy strategy that this country has. So. Yeah, okay. They need to speak all the time about us. How we need to do it. Okay, we got questions. So there's one around just, can any of these materials be cheaper than conventional, let's say conventional unsustainable sources, let's say conventional fossil-based, petrol-based chemicals. Can any of these be cheaper? I think phenol can be. I think they're saying now bio-based phenol from lignin is actually cheaper than fossil-based phenol these days. But have you any experience in that?
As lignin is removing phenol formaldehyde-based resins, the scaling up factor is allowing it to be indeed cheaper. But in other cases, it's not the case yet, because much to Jeff's malign here, we haven't scaled up fast enough to allow for the cost side to go down. Again, what comes first? Do we push this forward? Is there demand coming that will allow us to do that? It's an unknown.
Are you seeing anything on this?
They can be cheaper in ways, as Adeel just mentioned, but we need supply. We need supply of the feedstock, and I think that's the problem mainly. Also with lignin, there is always like the chicken and egg problem, that if there is a demand for it, then the supply should start increasing the production, and that will lower the cost a bit. But in some cases, it's very case dependent if it can be cheaper or not. In some cases, it can be. In other cases, I think we need some incentives and maybe buy a premium.
Yeah, scale is always the issue, I think, right now. We have a clear disconnect right now between what the market wants and what we can manufacture. And if you use a lignin example, it's not a lignin problem. It's a closure pulp mill. So it's very much like the refinery concept. If you lose a refinery in the Gulf of Mexico from a hurricane, you find that your chemical supply chain suffers as you go through. So a couple of quick questions here. One around Great Lakes St. Lawrence forests. Yep, absolutely. That's a huge opportunity, particularly with the hardwood. Ottawa Valley's got a huge opportunity. Hardwoods are nice down there because they're good for some of the sugars and whatnot. The lignins that we see are softwood based. And then quickly, somebody asked about what to do with, if there's anything around Espanola. I'm not going to touch that, other than I think what you need to be looking at with these mills is multi-year plans. Unfortunately, once a decision is made to shut a pulp mill down, put an innovative new use to it beyond traditional is a really hard thing to do unless you've already got a plan in place multi-years in advance. So, back to the strategy for investment in pulp mills, we need to be looking forward 3 to 5 years with investment. Yeah, sorry, I can't help on Espanola. Anyways.
Okay, thank you very much for that panel. And I have to say I was remiss when I introduced you not thanking CRIBE and Ontario Genomics for hosting breakfast this morning. So thank you very much for that. And thanks to your panelists. Yeah.